Yeah, you can. Go to Twitter. Oh, you can. Yeah. I'm live streaming it.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, sense of humor. I knew he had a sense of humor because he's Canadian. And from Montreal. Not too many people from Montreal.
No.
So everybody, who was here yesterday? Hands up. Okay, so you've heard the story.
Yes. Yeah.
The space thing. I was up in space and I thought, you know, we got to do something about before the last tipping point. My message yesterday was, actually, the rains are moving up. Climate warming and whatever changes else are, the rains are moving up towards Canada. So the beneficiary of climate warming is going to be Canada, except we're up north in the Arctic where the methane bubbles are melting. Well, what was frozen ground and kept methane frozen in the ground's heating up and the methane's coming out, and it's far more polluting than CO2. There is a company in Norway or Iceland who are right now on a very small scale putting the CO2 into rocks, into basalt, special rocks that can contain it. They're injecting CO2, which turns into part of the rock. So in a very, very small scale, they're beginning to be able to come up with some technology that's taking the CO2 out of the air. I mean, that's like there's a race going on between technology and the pollution, and if technology wins, we survive. There are many other, I think I said this yesterday, I have a talk show called I Don't Understand, and it's everything I don't understand, and they've just renewed it for a second and a third season, and yeah, and what a show. It's like everything I don't understand. I talk to, and I can't remember the names of the 70 people I've talked to already, 70 half hours that I've done, and I'm going to talk to another 180 by the end of so that'll be like 250 half hours, so I don't remember anything. What I don't understand is what I don't understand. But I had occasion to talk to the Nobel Prize winner of 21, and he won it for catalysts. He was making things happen faster chemically, I think it was. And so I asked him, why isn't there a Manhattan Project? The project that during the Second World War, everybody that could do anything about atomic energy was brought in to invent the atomic bomb before the Nazis did, and it worked, obviously. Why aren't every scientist with a degree working on how to survive after the next 50 years? So he said, and I don't know whether I said this yesterday or not, he said, we are. Scientists have heard the clarion call of survival. I guess they have children too, and so they want their children to survive, and scientists are working now. So it's a race between us doing less polluting, them trying to help us survive. I keep thinking of the things that people are doing. I heard recently of robot, the flying things.
Drones.
The what?
Drone.
Drones. Okay, thanks. It's there. It just doesn't come out as quickly. So drones with seeds for trees flying over and reseeding the clear cutting that we've done. Clear cutting is like, I mean, the British Columbia is cleared so many of the forest, the wood is gone, and it's wrecking the land. And what they're discovering is so fantastic. And it's, I think, a local, a British Columbia lady. I don't remember the exact where she's from in Canada, but I believe it's Canada. So I'm reading so much about this subject. So there's clear cutting, and then she was hired to replant. And replanting is another science. For example, I took a trip to Ireland some years ago, my wife and I, and we met our guide, a disc jockey in Dublin, who took us around the country. And we ended up in a small town, and what would you like? Well, we'd like to go fly fishing. You're fly fishing in Ireland. So they got a hold of a guide, the name of which, the generic term, is a ghillie. The ghillie, the guy who knows how to get into nature. So the ghillie meets us, and he has some fly rods. And there's a stream over there. So we walk alongside the stream, and we're walking alongside the stream, which has brush growing along the side, and there's the water. And every so often there's a break in the brush, and we look over there into the stream, and there's a guy fly fishing. And our ghillie says, "Hey, how are you, George?" And George says, "I'm fine now." And we walk a little further. "Oh, Dick, how are you, Dick? I'm good." And he's there fly fishing. And finally we come to an opening with a snow bunny. We get in, and he hands us the rods, and we're fly fishing for salmon in an Irish river. And it's right on. It's so obvious. We're there for a couple of hours, and there's not even a bite. And I turned to the ghillie and said, "There's not even a bite." Oh, he says, "Well, there's no fish." "Oh, well, there's no fish? What are you talking about?" And, he said, when the British cut down all the trees for making their boats and their ships, they replanted. But they replanted trees that don't have the same chemical qualities as the other one. So it poisoned the stream, so the salmon don't come up here anymore. No. Well, what are those guys all fishing in the river? It's, it's part of the AA process. I'm head of the AA club. And they're fishing. We don't catch any fish, but there's a great deal of peace. When you cast and you reel. That's what we're facing, folks. All the mistakes. Yes, it's a good story. Unbelievable. All the mistakes we're making in our earnest desire. So this girl who has studied reforestation discovered after a year or two planting the trees to overcome the clear cutting that happened, and I think it was happening in British Columbia. So few of the trees, the replanted trees, were growing. Why? So she discovered that there's this interconnection under the ground. Fungi. The trees need fungi. There's a whole system. There's a whole mycelium. There's a network of mycelium under the ground, which is the network for fungus. And the little trees needed the aid of the fungi to grow. Once that fungi, I don't know whether it's fungus or fungi or whether they're interchangeable. All of you would, do you know? You don't know. You're blonde, how could you know? I did that deliberately. That's like planting a tree without fungus. I mean, I just did it because it was a fun statement. Is it fungus or fungi? Fungi? Okay, fungu. Fungus. Okay. I'm hovering on the edge, as you can see. So the message is the connection that everything on earth has. Everything that's going on is interconnected. Okay? Everything is interconnected. And we destroy that connection. We humans, we're going, why don't we destroy the connection? We kill all the things and wonder why nature is unraveling. Because everything, not just the natural world on earth, but everything is connected. And when we lose sight of that, we lose our connection with nature and the natural world and our ability to live within the natural world. Somebody asked me a question about Star Trek or something. I'm on safer ground there. Yes, you. There's a microphone around. There's somebody with a microphone. Do you see this?
I'll just knock it off.
Nice and loud.
Oh, sorry. Is there any chance we might be seeing you show up on Picard? It seems
Wait a
to
minute.
me.
It says on the card. Yeah.
It seems to me you were with Patrick Stewart when Captain Kirk had his demise, and he's got deep pockets for the show. Is there any chance you might come back on?
Let me put it this way. So the last movie is Captain Kirk dies, okay? And so I'm dying, and I'm thinking, seeing death, and Captain Kirk would go, wow, look at that, death's coming. Because Captain Kirk never went, oh, look at that animal. It was, oh, look at that animal. So here comes death. Oh, look at this death. Now I die in the hot desert of Nevada, and scene's over, producers there say, we're all, Captain Kirk's dead. So I turned to the producer and said, I've got a book ready about how Captain Kirk lives again. And they said, no. There's a book out there that I wrote where Captain Kirk survives this death, comes back to life and has a whole life. I wrote several books reflecting my own life, put it into Captain Kirk. He got divorced, he got married, he has a kid, Okay. So, no, I don't think that's going to happen. On the other hand, that's the way it is in the show business. No, I'm never going to do that, except, no, I don't see how that could happen. 55 years later, and 20 pounds. Okay. What did you say, sir? The fans would be up for it. Right. Get an envelope, right? J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's in the works. But there's so. Wait a minute. Kennedy Center, the great place in Washington that does broadcasts every so often, great concerts. I'm going to do a concert at the Kennedy Center at the end of April on Earth Day. This album bill that I have out there now, which I think it's gotten these incredible reviews. We thought that Republic Records, who bought this record bill, they took an option for a second one. So we assumed that they would renew the option, and this team of Rob Chernow and Dan Miller and we continue to write songs. So we have about 20 songs ready for the next album, and it seems Republic is not going to renew their option. So I'm doing about 6 songs from the album that we would have done for Kennedy Center. It's going to be recorded, and we're going to do an album anyway. But all the songs, like there's a great SUITE, a great suite of music called So Fragile, So Blue. And it's about, on a Sunday, I said this yesterday, I didn't finish the story. On a Sunday in New York City in the evening, Rob Chernow, Dan Miller and I met for dinner. I was on my way to Blue Origin liftoff, and we're sitting around the table. I'm going the next morning to the desert, and we decide to write a song on space. We get ideas. My first phone call when I came down from that rocket was to call the guys and say, you know, everything we thought was space, nothing like it at all. Forget about it. We got to write another song, which we did. And it's called So Fragile, So Blue, and it's like 4 different movements, and the 70-piece symphony orchestra music is being written right now to this thing that is celebrating Earth Day with Kennedy Center on April 29th on a Friday evening. So it's like mystical, the things just happen and you go with it, and it's great. So fragile, so blue. I took a canoe trip. I was a kid, I was 18 years old, I graduated high school in Montreal, I was on my way to McGill, and it was a summer in which I did work at a welfare camp, and the head of the welfare camp, Scotty Brotman, imagine, I can't think of the name of the drone. I can't think of drone, but I can remember Scotty Brotman's name. So Scotty Brotman said, I need 8 counselors. I was a counselor there, 8 counselors. What I'd like to do, he said, is paddle a war canoe from Montreal up the St. Lawrence to the Richelieu, up the Richelieu to Lake Champlain, down Lake Champlain, portage to Lake George, down Lake George to the headwaters of the Hudson River, and down the Hudson River to New York City. And I've written a song about it. And it's a song of, hey, I'm out in the open, and it's beautiful, and nature is great. And the further along we went, the more industrial the land became, the dirtier it became. And finally, when we got to the environs of New York City, it was brown. It was shit. It was brown effluence everywhere. There were turds. I hear weak laughter. It's true. It was ugly. It was so polluted. It was unbelievable. And my whole idea of nature and the beauty of the thing. And I come to this city, and it was horrid, horrible. I've written a song about it, about how beautiful it was, and how I remember how beautiful it was, and how beautiful it can be again with clear-cut planting of trees. Another question? I'm desirous of finding out what you guys want to hear. As you can hear, I can talk about. I see a hand waving, but I don't see a microphone.
Right here.
Right here. Okay. What is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm
what? Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Shatner. Mr. Shatner.
Shatner.
Yes, that's right.
A-T-N-E-R.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to say, when you were up to space, were you able to see the Earth when you were in the sitting position?
Wait a minute, don't talk too quickly and right into the mic. When I was up in space and what?
Were you able to see the Earth while you were sitting in the rocket?
Yes, I could see the Earth. I went to it. I don't want to repeat myself from yesterday, and so many people saw it. Let me give you just a brief thing, okay? So yes, we got into weightless state. I got out of my harness. I went to the window. I looked out the window, and for some reason I looked behind me, and I could see the wake of the the spaceship going through the air, the blue air, and this, you know, it's so thin. I called it cellophane thin air around the Earth. And then I looked over there, and I saw the blackness of space. And that blackness wasn't just black, it was palpable, it was ominous and impenetrable. And I looked at it, I thought, my God, that's death. I looked there, and that's life. And I saw the curvature, and I saw how small the Earth is. The Earth is small. It seems endless, but it's tiny. And we're tiny little, less than ants running around. I mean, we're muons on a grain of sand. And as I said yesterday, the gift of consciousness, the gift of our self-knowledge, that we are Higgs bosons on sand, on a kernel of sand, on a grain of sand. We're nothing. The Earth is nothing. We're nothing. And yet we have consciousness about we're nothing. And look how grand that is. And what is it? And where does it go? And who made it? And what did all the mysteries that we'll never answer? But the mysteries are there. The mysteries are to be worshipped because they are mysteries. What happened? And this thing inside every human being is, what is, why, what happened? Because is that Big Bang? What is that? And tectonic plates? Imagine Big Bang idea, which is a glorious idea, just came into being within the last 100 years. Tectonic plates. Why is there a mountain? Oh, said the Greeks. Well, they're giants behind those mountains. They had wars and they were giants. They were picking up prehistoric bones. And oh, look at this. It must have been a race of giants and they lived behind the mountains and they war with the gods. I mean, they had a whole thing because they didn't know. We know. We know. Tectonic, last 100 years. Tectonic plates? What is that? That's ridiculous. All of a sudden we're finding out. It gives me a chill, or else it's cold in here. It gives me a chill to think of the knowledge where this little thing inside our head is processing all the time. What is it? Where does it go? How does it fit? Am I entertained? Am I laughing? Am I crying? Why am I crying? The magic of human beings and the magic of humanity and the magic of where we are in, what we are in, this earth that we are in carries such magic that to see it go, I mean, it's beyond grief. We must sustain it because it's so beautiful. And the next generation needs to see how beautiful it is. There is plastic, there's a area of the northern Pacific that is filled with plastic that we've dumped into the ocean. A Texas-sized area of the ocean, it's all plastic. And it's grinding down as it rubs against each other. And so these infinitesimal pieces of plastic float all through the ocean. The fish eat it, we eat the fish, and inside us is this poisonous plastic. We thought plastic? Mankind has invented plastic. We don't have to chop down the British Columbia woods anymore. We need to make, and then it's not good. We got to do something else. Magic in here, happening all the time. It's good. Next question. No, it's like we're intertwined. You, the audience, and me, we're intertwined. We're one. We're sharing the same thing. I'm sharing it with you, and I can feel you share. That's the greatest. That's what actors and audience. That's the epitome of an actor and audience. When it's like, wow, we're talking together. Give me another question. That's real laughter, see? And are we the only animals that laugh? I don't think so. We know that mice laugh, you know? So if the mice laugh, does an orca laugh? Come on. What's your question?
Okay, anyways, sorry about the mountains.
It does matter. Everything matters.
Yeah. So,
Wait a minute. Why did you say it doesn't matter?
I said it doesn't matter to me.
What?
I mean, never mind. Like
What?
what is it? Yeah. What's the question? Is oh yeah.
The question is, why did you say it doesn't matter, and what were you referring to?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Kind of forget what to say, but.
Did you understand
Oh yeah.
what he said? Oh, he's nervous. Don't be nervous, it's just me. I'm a big star from home.
Okay, I got it. What's your favorite food?
But I went to
What's your-
Strathclyde to school in Montreal.
Yeah.
Okay, go
No.
ahead.
What's your favorite
West Hill
food?
High School.
Favorite food and
Won several city championships in football. Skied the Laurentian Mountains. St. Sever was where I learned to ski.
and how would you feel if Star
How's what?
Trek and Star Wars are in crossover?
Wait a minute, I'm not understanding a word you're saying.
Yeah.
What?
Star Wars and Star Trek.
Star Wars. That's Star
going
Trek.
together. How would you feel about that?
How do I feel about that? Okay. That's a good question. What were you nervous about? It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No, it's not. It's a very Star Wars. Star Wars is like mythology. They lived. What is it? 5 centuries ago, and another set, and the scroll goes on, and it's like Greek tragedy. It's like great classical plays done with little things. Now go too far. Holo sends Han Solo, you're going too far. It's legendary, it's great, it's mystical stuff, and it's all mystical, it's all legend, it's all unreal. Whereas Star Trek, at its best, had real stories. I love that story. What a great concept to have a character half white and half black, and have the other character half white and half black here, and hating each other because they were different colors. Without saying a word, you've got the message, and nothing else needs to be said. Or a war by computer. That's what we're going to have. Our computers make war, and then we'll take, a certain number of citizens and kill them, depending on who won the computer war. But you don't have to destroy the computer. We'll just take a few human beings and make it a little, painful. But you don't have to war. What a great concept. Obviously you shouldn't do either, but it's these science fiction ideas. I may have mentioned this yesterday. I may have been, certainly within 6 months of Stephen Hawking dying. Within 6 months of Stephen Hawking dying, I interviewed him for something, for a show. I went to Cambridge and sat down with Stephen Hawking. Okay. And he's the guy that said, the way I think about it, there should be a black hole sucking all the energy. He had a theory, a thesis, a theory. That's the way mathematically it should work. And then he brought in facts to support his imaginative leap, so that scientists, great theoretical scientists, are writing the same kind of almost reality that science fiction writers. The two are almost interchangeable, and frequently, as we all know, many great scientists wrote science fiction. And that's the way great science works. There's Einstein, a leap. He's in a library. He's just imaginative. The train is going that way, and I'm walking that way, and the plane is flying that. What is time? And he began to ponder that and marshaled facts, and finally came up with E equals MC squared. So, the answer to your question is Star Trek is more human, and Star Wars is more legendary, and both have their place, and I love them both. You know, late on a Sunday afternoon, this is ridiculous. I should have done this earlier. I don't know why. Did you all stay because you wanted to do this? What a weird coincidence, so did I. Next question.
Hi. Ever since I was a little kid, I always kind of loved the idea of the original series' 5-year mission being completed by the animated series 2 years. And I know Gene Roddenberry didn't like that idea very much, but I was just curious, do you yourself consider the 2 years of the animated series to be canon and to be the completion of the Enterprise's 5-year mission?
No.
No?
Well, I'll tell you, animation has really become extraordinary. What an incredible way to tell a story. And I wrote a series of books called Tech War. And thank you. That's more people than bought my record bill, for God's sake. So, I've got Tech War after all these years at a great animation studio. And in selling a show, and I'm doing that all the time, trying to sell some show to show on television, and it's a whole pitch. You go in with a sales pitch, I guess very much like somebody going into a bank saying, I'd like to get a loan on, and you try and sell the manager on this great idea you haven't used money for. So people like myself go into these various places that exhibit ABC, CBS, NBC, and everything else with an idea for a show. But an idea no longer works. What you need now is what they call a deck. And it's everything. It's future shows that you'd like to, that are going to take place, pictures of what you have in mind, where it's going to go, how long it's going to be, what the backgrounds of other characters are, who you would like to have them play. I mean, it's like 9-10 pages of a sales pitch. And then you go in and you talk to 3 or 4 individuals and you say, well, you know, this is what I see, and this was. So we did that. I did that with Tech War, and an animation house accepted the idea, invested money of theirs to make this deck, and this writer that they've hired, his name is not on the tip of my mind, made it much better, more complex. It's a great, they do great animation, this particular studio, and it's about to go out there now to be sold, and we don't know. But it's very complex, and not many people go to this extent, so I'm reasonably hopeful that Tech War may be an animation series, and I'll play it, and it's my books and all, and it'll be a wonderful thing to have happen. I've got a new book coming out. You know, I suddenly began, mostly as a result of going up into space, and I've been on the verge of all this long ago. 30 years ago or more, I did 13 hours of television called Voice of the Planet, many, many years ago. Voice of the Planet was directed and produced by a great ecologist by the name of Michael Tobias. Michael Tobias is one of the legendary figures. He turns out to be a great friend of mine. And 30 years ago, we went all over the world looking at the harm that we have been doing. And I ended up in the Himalayas. This is part of a song, by the way, but I'll tell you the story in prose. So I'm now about 17,000 feet high. I can see Mount Everest. I'm in a confluence of valleys from holy mountains that the Tibetans think of as holy, and coming through those valleys, here in the center of this between mountains, these passes between these mountains coming down into this valley. And over here is a Buddhist temple, a 1,000-year-old Buddhist temple with monks in them. And monks are in there chanting and blowing those horns to get enlightenment, to achieve to be in vibration with the universe. And I am there in front of a camera for 7 days talking about this. But at night, I would leave the tent and I would put my sleeping bag outside, very cold, and lie outside, half asleep, waiting for enlightenment, knowing that I was open for it. My heart was open. What does it all mean? What's the answer? What's the meaning of life? Why are we here? What should we do? And I wait and I wait, and 7 nights go by, and now we have to leave. Next morning we're leaving, and nothing has happened to me. I'm like in a fury of frustration. I get up and roll my bag up, and I put it on my backside, and as I'm packing up to leave, some sand falls into my hand. And I look at the grains of sand, and I thought, my God, these grains of sand have had eon-like trip. They started as magma, as original rock from who knows from where. And it evolved, and it went into magma, and it came out of the volcano, and then it eroded, and then the tectonic plates, and now, finally, 3 grains of sand in the whole world. Everything about the world is in my hand. That's how connected we are. And that was my enlightenment. It was right there. I could have been on the beach on Victoria Island to have the enlightenment. I didn't need to be in 17,000 feet in total silence because nothing lives up there. But that's my story. What was that? I was going to answer some question. What was that? Who cares? It was just a good story. I think I'm done. I think that's correct, right? Yes. Okay. Listen, everybody. I'm going to go home now. I want to thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you here, spend your time and being in this audience, for me to be in front of you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, put your hands together one more time for Mr. William Shatner, a true legend. Thank you so much, sir.